Welcome to Flipping Houses for Rookies, the only podcast that shows you how to take back your financial freedom and live the American dream by becoming a real estate investor. Without the banks, without the big wigs, and without the realtor's nonsense. This isn't about selling you coaching or some get-rich-quick scheme. It's about opening your eyes to the possibilities so you can make real chunks of dough, buy your life back, and become a free American. With over 400 episodes aired, we're delivering everything you need to know to find deals, talk to sellers, structure deals, and win big. It's time to take action, change your mindset, and claim what's yours. Real estate is the key to your freedom, and we're here to show you the way. Subscribe now and catch our latest episodes on YouTube at Flipping Houses for Rookies, because your financial freedom starts today. Now, here are your hosts, Bill and Pete.
All right, here we are at yet another episode of Flipping Houses for Rookies. Yay, good morning, Peter.
Morning, Bill. Morning, everybody. Or afternoon, evening, or whatever.
Whenever you're listening to this.
Yep.
We are going to record podcast number 445 right now. We're on podcast 445. And here is the title of today's podcast. Anti-negotiating creative real estate deals for gargantuan profits. What if I told you the most profitable creative real estate deals I have ever done required zero negotiating skills? Would you call me crazy? What if I told you being a smooth talker is actually killing your chance of landing gargantuan deals? And if you don't learn this lesson, it will cost you millions and even your career. How about I show you the anti-negotiating framework today by using 12 specific words in 30 seconds in any conversation that will convert any seller into a deal practically being thrown at you because it was such a psychological pattern interruption, turning any hostile seller into your biggest advocate. In fact, the main reason most creative real estate entrepreneurs are struggling to close deals in today's economy is because they are not using this anti-pitch mindset and could change your success in this industry. The clock is ticking. Miss this one single episode and you will struggle with sellers while others walk away with your prize of the gargantuan deal you deserve.
12 words.
12 words.
When you're saying that, I was counting on my fingers like, okay, I think I know what it is. Don't say anything. Yep, must be that one. But go ahead. Do your podcast.
445 podcasts, and we brought it down to 12 words.
Yeah.
All right, let's do our housekeeping stuff first. So, as I go through the podcast, I will probably talk about things that you can find and get, tools that are kind of funny. You know, Peter, I just wanted to say something here. I thought of this the other day. You know, it's kind of funny because I used to go to those $5,000-$10,000 a week seminars, you know, with lots of gurus. You know what I mean? I won't name any of them, but I've spent, I lost track at $150,000 on my education, which was probably about 10 years ago, to be honest with you. And I still buy courses. I still buy books. I still, whenever I see something, I buy it, I read it, even though if it's the most basic thing, because it's incredible. Anyways, my point in saying this is that when I first got into the industry, I used to be insulted that I would spend $5,000 or $10,000 for a seminar, plus all the money to get there and the lodging, you know, which was usually another couple $1,000, airfare, plane tickets, food, all that kind of stuff. and then get into the seminar and then be sold something else.
Yes. Run to the back table. The first 5 people. Oh, now only. Today only. Oh, yeah.
So a quick story there, which I'm taking up time I shouldn't be taking up. But one time, this was, back when the internet is not as popular and as easy it is now. They were selling software for $3,500, which was a front end site, and then the back end of the site did all the deal structuring and stuff for you. It was kind of yucky. It wasn't really creative real estate. It was just, but so I decided, you know what? I put my foot down. I'm sick and tired of being sold stuff. I paid a lot of money already. I should get this, blah, 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 blah. And I had all the justifications in my head. I went home and thought I could find this software somewhere else.
Oh.
I spent 6 months or 7 months trying to find this software to only go to another seminar to have to buy that software.
Yep.
The lesson learned is not that, and now that I'm on the other side of it, it's not that they're making money off of you, which obviously, why would anybody begrudge anybody making money if you need something? Like, I'm not going to begrudge the car manufacturer for making money when I need a car, right? I'm not going to begrudge the grocery store for making money when I need to eat, right? It's the gluttonous that doesn't work. But anyways, my point in saying this is that I've learned many decades later that the most important thing that a guy like me can do is when I have something that works and you can't find it anywhere else, I should tell you about it and give you the chance to go buy it. And later on, I found out that going to these seminars, the most powerful aspect of me going to a seminar, because you and I still do it occasionally, right? Yeah. Is going there and buying the newest tools or the newest materials. Because you can't find it anywhere else. It's not things you find on the internet. It's not things you find in everyday life. So it became this thing. So when I tell you that the reason I'm ranting about this and spent the last 3 or 4 minutes on it is because in the description is the email flippinghousesforrookies@gmail.com. The stuff that I have and the stuff that we use, I just finished writing a book. There's never been one like it on the market. Matter of fact, I want to give it to you today, and I want you to kind of read through it to make sure. But I'm going to release it pretty soon. By probably podcast number 447, which is in a couple weeks from now, I'm going to be releasing a brand new newsletter. It's going to be a free newsletter that's just about creative real estate, nothing else. Right? And it's going to be a weekly newsletter that comes into your inbox, your email inbox, every Saturday morning. The point is that when you find someone like me, and it's not just me, there's a lot of people like me that can drill down on a specific subject that you're trying to make money with, you should find that person and buy everything they have, because that's how you get ahead. Okay? And that's my spiel this morning, because it doesn't make a difference to me. I mean, I'm telling you to email me and I'm going to give you free stuff. I'm not even making money off of you at this point. It has nothing to do with any of that. It's because between my 3 businesses, I'm doing okay, and I don't need to make $20, or $99, or even $499. I mean, it's good to make money, but it's more helpful for the people that are listening, because if you can't find this information, like my website. Now it's they're a dime a dozen, but back then it wasn't that way. Back then it cost $4,000 or $5,000 to make a website, and there was a whole back end to this thing that was incredible. It was Dustin Goffin or something. He owns the Tampa real estate company. He still sells those websites, right? Anyway, that's my 2 cents. So that's why I put the email there. Is I would like to help people. I don't want to coach them, but I would like to help them with some of the tools that we have. And 99% of the time, I'm going to give you something for free, or give it to you for free, because the days of me selling courses and doing internet sales like that are pretty much gone. I have other things that I want to do, so that's why I'm doing it. Anyways, there's my confession for this morning. Make sure you like us, make sure you subscribe to us, and let's get started with the podcast. Okay?
Okay.
Cool.
Yep.
Hopefully that rant wasn't pissing anybody off, or didn't piss anybody off. All right, so we are yes, we absolutely are definitely no mistake in the golden age of creative real estate.
Ah.
Which means creative real estate has hit a period of not having to work so hard to reach abundance.
Mm.
And in this most flourishing period, because this is kind of like when Google first came out, or the internet first came out, or when automobiles first came out. The beginning was the most flourishing aspect. It was the wild, wild west, and people could make money with it. Like the internet, they talk about how in the 90s all these millionaires and tens of millions and billionaires were made because the competition was low, right?
Mm. Yeah.
This is what I'm talking about right now. We are in that period because the realtor system is collapsing, whether they want to hear that or not. I had my realtor here the other day, and he begrudged me on that. But when we got done talking, he kind of came around to my way of thinking, right? The realtor system is going to turn into a buyer resource. It's not going to be a seller resource.
Yeah.
It's going to be a buyer resource. And it's going to, I don't know if it will be completely abolished, but I think it's going to change massively. It's going to go from realtors trying to acquire acquisitions to gathering buyers. Because buyers are where the money's at, right? So with that said, the conversation I had with my realtor the other day, who sat right across from my desk, I asked him because he's telling me there's a shortage of real estate. So I asked him, was there a shortage of real estate or is there a shortage of real estate on the MLS? And he said to me, you got a good argument there.
Yep. So
just the fact that realtors think that there's a shortage of real estate because they're not going to realtors and not getting put in on the MLS is an evidence or a telltale of what I say, that I think in 5 years from now there won't be such a thing as a realtor. They'll be obsolete. Okay? That's my opinion.
Well,
okay?
I've heard Zillow's trying to take over the system. And you just go to Zillow. You want to buy a house. Well, my son found a house, and his fiance found a house. They find it online,
right.
And then they call the realtor. What do you need to call the realtor for? They see it online.
Right.
Go there.
Right.
Bring your checkbook and buy the house. Like, really?
Right.
So that part's changing. People know that too. I've talked to people when I talk to them on the phone. They know what's happening.
Right.
They know in Europe that the buyers go to the agent and they pay the commission, and that's how it works on the buyer side. They know it.
Yep.
So it's no secret.
So let's start at the beginning of the anti-negotiating by actually clearing up what negotiating actually is.
Okay.
Because I don't think many know this. Okay. So a negotiation is the effort to bring about an agreement between two or more parties, with all parties having the right to veto.
Okay.
So I'm going to say it again. A negotiation is the effort. What does that mean? Is the effort.
Well, you're working on something.
Right.
It isn't done. It's the activity.
Right. So negotiating is the effort to bring about an agreement. What's an agreement?
Well, that's when both parties see the same thing and want the same thing.
Or they say, yeah, I guess I could do that. Right? So a negotiation is the effort to bring about an agreement between two or more parties, with all parties having the right to veto. Okay, now watch this. Veto means I forbid in Latin. That's the derivation of the word. Or in plain language, prohibit. Or actually stop. Or like put an armor coat around something. And they open up. Oh, wait a minute. Sorry, I'm doing this wrong. Actually stop or prevent changes of the status quo.
Sure.
Right? So get that? It means to prevent changes of the status quo. What is the status quo of a seller?
Well, he's in a situation.
I've had this house for 5 years, and I no longer want it. That's the status quo change. So it
Okay.
changes the status quo. I've been putting up with this problem for. Look at me with I got some multifamily houses I'm selling right now. I've been putting up with it, been collecting money, been dealing with it, and just one day the switch flipped and I changed my status quo. I don't want that anymore. I don't want the liability. I just got done paying $9,000 to put a furnace in a house that one of my tenants decided they wanted to light without my permission and blew the furnace up.
Yep.
$9,000. They're not giving me that money back. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So when I say that you got to, when you're negotiating, right, you're actually to actually stop or prevent changes of the status quo. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
But here's what the missed secret is. A veto, in many cases, is also the ability to make proposed changes. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And almost anyone I know or have actually critiqued and their seller calls do not know or definitely do not apply this one point. And this is so slight and so simple, it gets missed. Is the seller vetoing the entire concept or just one little piece or part of the proposal?
Right.
I don't want to do a rent to own. And you automatically, poke around. The unskilled person that doesn't realize what I'm telling you right now will move on and try to do another deal.
Mm-hmm.
Structure. Instead of saying, which part of that don't you like? To find out, well, I don't want to be a landlord. And then you can handle that one point just with paperwork or other things to find out, well, they don't mind taking monthly payments. They don't need the money right now. They just don't want more aggravation because this property, they're trying to get rid of it because, like, for example, I have 3 multifamilies that I'm selling right now. I wanted to sell all 3 of them on seller financing. I ended up not doing that. I'm going to just sell one of them on seller financing, which, by the way, I have to do myself, which is not a problem. The point is I didn't want the landlord obligations anymore. My
Right.
entire life is about not having landlord obligations. I bought these multifamilies because you and I were in the Dave Lindahl buy apartment buildings. We bought a seminar for a lot of money, and we were going to that. And I told you I wanted to see what it's like to be a landlord. So I bought 3 properties or 4 properties that way, right?
Yep.
Well, it's been, how long has it been? 6,
Gee, 5?
Well, 5 years ago was COVID. So
That's 6 then. At least 6 years.
I would say 7 or 8 years ago, but it's been quite a while, right?
Yeah.
And I'm done with them. I've made enough money with them. I've had to give some money back, and I'm done, right? The point is that I want to do seller financing. I'm changing my status quo, right? So I would veto. I'm vetoing a cash deal, and that sounds crazy, right? I mean, I have one piece of property that I'm selling for $300,000, $280,000.
Mm-hmm.
By the time I pay the fees and I pay the conveyance, by the time I pay the fees and the capital gains tax, it's almost $70,000.
Jeez.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah.
That's the reason why I don't want to sell for cash. Why am I going to give all that money away? I worked hard for that.
Yeah.
I've had these properties for quite a while, and how many weekends and how many holidays that I have to deal with a clogged sewer or a shoveled sidewalk or, just somebody not paying me or whatever. I worked hard for that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So realize that the seller is not vetoing the whole concept. You got to break the concept down. So it's just a conversational thing, right? Only because, go ahead.
Well, what I got as an idea when you're talking about it is the veto is the opportunity Not only to find out what he does want, but to find out what he does want, what he doesn't want, what he does want.
Right.
Says, okay, why don't you like that? Oh, I got it. So what do you want? Oh, what if I did this? Oh, good.
Right.
You know, it's a way to find out what he does want.
On-
He might not tell you otherwise. You might
right.
not find out.
Well, we're going to talk about that. Unfortunately for you and me, we're all a bunch of humanoids, and we have these sentient feelings called emotions.
Mm-hmm.
Some control them, some don't. I beg you to read the book Outwitting the Devil by Napoleon Hill, and you will get a very, very clear picture of that. Have you started to read it?
No, I keep every time you talk about and I forget to get it.
No.
But I will.
Outwitting
That
the
one I'm
Devil,
interested
right?
in.
It's very interesting.
Yeah.
Only because most people want to be liked. And a veto or a no will show you that you are disliked. So if you're proposing and you get a rejection right away, you think you're disliked. Instead of tearing it down and finding out, oh, it had nothing to do with you. It was one little aspect of the deal or the proposal.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yep.
Sweetheart, I want to marry you. Oh, okay. Where's the wedding? Oh, I don't want a wedding there. Right? How many times have we seen TV shows like that? He wants this kind of wedding, she wants that type of a wedding, right?
Sure.
Which, by the way, that's an excellent little summary of real estate, right? Because most girls at the age of 13, 14, 15, 16, 18, whatever, start thinking about their wedding. So now here it is a decade later or more, and they've had all this time to think about this wedding.
Wow.
And then you come along and propose something completely different.
Yeah, that you just came up with, because we don't do that.
Right.
We're up against 10 years of planning. Oh, no wonder we don't win.
So how is this like a seller? How is this different than a seller that's had a property for 10 years with this concept of the exit strategy?
Yep.
Right? And you're up against
Yep.
that. Okay. So most people don't like to be rejected or disliked. Or maybe you don't want to hurt someone's feelings. Or worse, think you will damage someone's ego. Oh, you got $200,000. I can only give you $100,000. Afraid that you're going to hurt their ego or hurt their feelings. Right?
Mm-hmm.
You can't do that. Okay? And I'm going to show you how to overcome all of this with 12 words.
Okay.
I'm just going over some of the theory of it, right? I know you don't have trouble with this. I know most don't have any trouble. Well, let me put it this way. I don't have trouble with this, but most do. I said it backwards. Right?
Yeah.
I have no trouble with this because I'm a New Yorker. But most people do. You don't want to be too blunt or arrogant. Arrogance is not a bad thing. Arrogance means that you know what you know and you're full of it. You just, the way you present it is the way arrogance comes. But if you're confident, there's nothing wrong with being confident. Why do we mock it? Why do we make fun of it in society? Oh, he's so arrogant. Why? Because he's confident? What's wrong with that? Right?
Mm-hmm.
The reason why this is a problem, so you don't want to be too blunt or arrogant, not realizing you are actually helping them when you just get to the point. Right?
Yeah, that's funny. I was just going to say, well, arrogance is fine as long as you're using it to help the person. Then you said that. Because that's what it is. It's not to be smarter than them. It's to be somebody who has a solution for them, and you know what you're doing, to help them. And then they shouldn't mind.
But you see the difference where someone might be, like, I get this one a lot. I don't like confrontation.
Well,
I hear that from my sister. AKA, I'm in fear, and I don't like to be smashed or rejected. I get that. Then get out of the business. Get out of life, as a matter of fact, because everything is against you. You say to yourself, I want to be a millionaire. You think that the whole world is going to just fall at your becking feet and give you $1 million because you just thought of that? You know, one of the things in this book that is very impinging to me, Outwitting the Devil, is and he talks about this, Napoleon Hill talks about this, not enough in Think and Grow Rich, is it the definiteness of purpose. When you could fill your mind up with what you want, and it's the definiteness of purpose and a plan, that's the real term. And when you have the reason why, and you have all the things that go along with it, it fills your mind, and then you can't go wrong. And so here's the thing: not one seller. Now pay attention to this, because as far as I'm concerned, this is the catalyst of the entire podcast. But you won't think that because it's too simple, and you'll be like, "Yeah, I already knew that." But I'm telling you, this is what you should gauge your entire life on in real estate.
Okay.
Not one seller, not one single seller can sell you a house until they have a proposal from you. No seller comes up to you and says, "Peter, you got to buy my house at 60 cents on a dollar, and you got to do it whatever way you want to do it. Just get rid of this thing." I've been doing it for 30 years. I've had people tell me that, but they're bad deals. Right? They're bad deals. They're dysfunctional houses. They're just, the reason why they're telling me that is because they've been through the gamut of buyers and been rejected already, and they have no other place to go. Mm-hmm. It's a total.
Yeah, if it's so good, they wouldn't be doing it.
That's right. Right, because they just don't have enough buyers.
Yeah.
Right? So, now one seller can sell you a house until they get a proposal. Right?
Okay.
And sellers will never say yes to anyone that quits asking them. Mm-hmm. Sellers will never say yes to anyone who quits asking them. When you quit proposing your ideas or your interest or your intention or your purpose, that's when the potential deal just dies. Sure. Right on the mind. So the only way to do this is to keep the seller interested. And the way you keep a seller interested is with stories. I think I'm going to write another podcast on this. I don't want to get into this, but there's an old rule. It's called 7-11-4.
Never heard this one. 7-11-4.
7-11-4.
Really?
Yeah. So that means somebody has to. Let me see if I get this straight. I can't do it. It has to do with somebody has to. Oh, they have to consume 7 hours of your material. 11. I don't remember what the 11's for, but the 4 is in 4 different places. I'll find out what it is and I'll let you know.
Oh, okay.
It's been a while since I've seen it, but the point is that the days of talking to somebody for an hour and getting a house are gone. So conversationally, and I'm going to tell you how, by actually helping someone, and I'm going to explain this before we get off, is how you do this anti-negotiating. Okay. So sellers will never say yes to anyone who quits asking them. When you quit proposing your ideas, that's when the potential deal is dead. Which means, number one, you must, which so many people fall down on this. So many people fall down on this. You must believe that what you're offering to the seller is the right thing for them and it will help them. In most cases, change their life. You have to believe that. And because too many people are like, they have grasshopper thinking. They jump from here and jump from there and jump from here and jump from there. And they're just drifting through the process. There's no precise, concise idea that you can actually help them because you've not done it before. You've not seen that person that comes up to you and gives you a bear hug and they're crying because you changed their life so much. They've not seen that. They've not heard those people's words. You have to believe what you're doing from the court. Right? And number two, you have to train yourself to stay in the zone of truly helping the seller with your ideas, with your purposes, with your intentions, right? And making sure you know exactly what they need and want. In other words, I didn't say anything about money. You will make money. But I promise you, it's complete karma. The more people you help, the more money you will make. You have to realize that 1 out of 5 people, actually in the beginning, 1 out of 15 people will say yes. So you have 14 people that will say no. So here's my point. Did you turn them into your little marketing soldiers and get them to bring their friends and others to you? Did you ask them if there's somebody else they know that you can help? Because you know that 1 out of 15 will say yes. That's a common statistic. So there's 14 people that will not. What did you do with them? How did you treat them? Did you get them to work for you or with you with others that they know and use their network? Probably not. This is where my promised 12 words asked in 30 seconds hits the bullseye for every seller. And as an interrupter, it interrupts everything that's going on in the conversation and the thought pattern. Because it's not what everyone else does or is doing. And I'll tell you the reason why in a minute. And it rips down all the seller's armor, and they open up to you like you just put them on the couch and started a therapy session with them. And try this. I'm telling you. Don't believe anything I'm telling you. Just try it and observe for yourself. Here's the 12 words. Go ahead, Peter. Tell me what they are.
What would happen? What would have to happen for me to buy your house today?
That's exactly right. What would have to happen for me to buy your house today?
I had to count because I only had 10. I had to add for me or something. Yeah, I had to add 12. Yeah.
What would have to happen for me to buy your house today? Now that is a seriously penetrating question. And you might think it's too simple. And you may think whatever you think. And I don't care. Because I'm telling you, if you discredit these words, you're losing deals. I would venture to say you're losing about 70% of your deals. Here's what I did when I said, what would have to happen for me to buy your house today? Once these words leave your lips, number one, it shows you're willing to stay with the seller. You're being blunt. You're getting right to it without hurting their feelings. This is what they want. No seller wants to sell you their house. No seller wants that. When you call someone up that you think a for sale by owner or somebody's motivated, they want to sell your house, no, that's out sequence. They want a proposal because if they're selling a house for $300 and you're offering them $200, they don't want the deal. They're fishing for people that are going to give them close to what they want and obviously the most amount.
Sure.
Right? So what happens? So if they have too many people offering them $200,000, I'm going to go over this later too. That's what they want. $300. They don't, and what they want is different than what they are going to get. They will. It will take them a long time to adjust. Well, geez, I had 5 people tell me it's worth $200. I wonder if it's really worth $200. They don't think that, right? So, number one, it shows you're willing to stay with the seller and persist until they work through what they need and want and get it. Number two, if you turn the table on the seller and use help to get them what they want as your pitch mindset, you will soon become a lethal problem solver. I want $300,000 for my $300,000 house. Okay, what can I do to help you get that? Right?
I'm only laughing because they say, write me a check, of course.
Right.
But that's just the beginning.
Right. But the point is, okay, so let's go through that. And then you go through the cost to sell. Well, did you know that when you get your check, this is what it's going to look like? And here's why, because I've done this a lot of times.
Mm-hmm.
So that means your $300,000 house is only going to bring you $270,000 because it's 15% in closing costs. Did you know that?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You're helping them. You're informing them. They don't know this.
Yeah.
So I tell them, how did you come up with that $300,000? Because that may not be the right number. Mm-hmm. Let's work together to find out if that's the right number.
Mm-hmm.
Let me help you. Right? Pay attention to this. This is important. All the problem is, this is what a problem is conflicting aims or contradictory desires that a person doesn't feel they can break through.
Yep.
So they have conflicting aims. In other words, they're trying to get $300,000 and nobody's offering $300,000. Their aim is $300,000 and they're not getting those offers.
Yep.
Or contradictory desires. Well, I'll give you $300,000, but I got to make monthly payments.
Mm-hmm.
It's a contradictory desire, right?
Mm-hmm. Sure.
So what is a desire?
No, it's just something that they want. It doesn't mean they're going to get it.
Is it logical?
Doesn't have to be. I've talked to people. I want $1 million for my condo, but sir, it's only worth 210. That's okay. I want $1 million. Good luck.
So a desire is not just wanting something; it's a strong feeling of wanting something or wishing something happens. But it's a strong feeling. So if they have a desire, the only way they're going to change their desire is with numbers. They have 10 people telling them they can't get it.
Yeah. Well, eventually reality's got to set in. But it gives us the opportunity. See, I guess the obvious thing is if somebody says, what do I have to do for me to buy your house today? Well, write me a check for $300. You don't go, okay, or you don't go, no. It's just a launching point to dig into that and just go through it and help them go through the thing and just see what happens.
To be blunt, they're ignorant.
Yeah.
They have no idea what's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And nobody cares enough to tell them because most people say, oh, I can't do that. See you later.
Yeah.
Nobody is actually going to throw them on the couch and give them a therapy session. Right? So number 3, what you're doing by using those words is by assuming that every seller will be skeptical and distrust you.
Oh.
Right?
Say it again?
Yeah, every seller will be skeptical and distrust you.
Yeah.
At first.
Yeah.
And not believe a word you're saying. Right?
Yeah.
You now have to dig into your deep belief and you can truly help this person and go into customer support mode. The only way you're going to penetrate telling them, you can't tell anybody anything and expect it to be. Right? Let me tell you this. Right? And that's a strong opinion you're giving.
Yeah. Well, we used to do things like go over the cost to sell with people at their table, in their home, in their kitchen. But we wouldn't tell them that. You're very smart about that. I think the most powerful thing you could do is ask people questions. Because if you ask them, they look them for themselves like, how much is it going to cost to do this? How much does this cost? How much? And they look at it themselves and go, oh, yeah, because you're not shoving it down their throats. You give them the opportunity to go through the thinking process that they should have done, but they didn't do.
Well, they didn't know what questions to ask.
Yeah.
And so you're going to ask those questions now.
Yeah. And if they can come to the conclusion, how do you argue that?
And that's anti-negotiation. getting them to have the aha moment, asking enough questions in the right order so they can have the aha moment. And I'm going to give you some of those. I'm going to tell you exactly how to do this before we leave. It's so simple, it's pathetic. Okay?
It's so simple, it's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay.
Here's the biggest secret in anti-negotiating framework, Ready? When you ask, what would have to happen for me to buy your house today? You just found out any conflicting aims or contradictory desires. And often contrary facts about your seller's true intention for the real outcome. Because if they could have got it, somebody else would have given it to you before you came along. Because you weren't there on day 1 hour, and if it was such a slamming deal. In other words, there's this thing realtors have what they call a pocket listing. Now, I realize back in the 50s or before the MLS, realtors knew everybody in town, and that's how they did deals, is because they knew who wanted to buy and who wanted to sell, right? So it used to be they would get a listing contract, a guy, because it was mostly a guy, and they would put it on the inside of their suit jacket pocket, their pocket listing. And then they would go, before they would list it, they would go to 2 or 3 of their buddies and say, hey, I got this really hot deal. You want to get it before I put it on the MLS or before I advertise it or before I put it in the newspaper?
Yep.
Right? Those
right.
deals don't exist anymore. Well, they do in commercial real estate, but not in residential anymore. It's not as often as it used to be. Right? Plus, these 12 words take you out of a maybe. Too many people talk for 10 minutes, 20 minutes, a half an hour with the seller, including you, Peter, including you, because I've heard you do it, and every one of my coaching clients. You spend all the time on the phone with someone, and you end up with a maybe. There's not a definite. There's a perhaps we'll do it, or a probable, maybe probably we'll do it, but I got to just, right? It's not a definite yes or no up to this point. And when you ask, what would have to happen for me to buy your house today? You have it. There's no more maybe. It's either you're going to do it or you're not. You're going to work through it on the phone or you're not.
Okay, so let's back up a little bit. Earlier you said the days of buying a house in one sitting are gone and it takes a number of touches. But if you do this, you get right to the point sooner?
I didn't say anything about buying a house.
No, well, I don't mean buying it, but I mean getting them to agree is the thing, like yes or no.
Yeah, so this is a crude thing to say, but most people that I deal with deal in mental masturbation. They play with themselves in their own minds thinking they have a deal. And they go on and on and on until they say, I don't know what happened, they ghosted me. Because they're not doing this. All I'm saying is that when you do this question, what would have to happen for me to buy your house today? It's going to give you which path you can go down and how long it's going to take you to do it. Yep. It's going to give you definiteness of purpose on whether or not this is a potential deal. It's going to tell you whether or not they're flexible or not. It's going to tell you what their intentions are. It's like you put a microscope inside their mind and you can see their pictures.
Do you think people are reluctant to tell us what they're really trying to do, like they lose advantage?
No, I think most people don't know what they want to do. They don't know what their potential is. That's why they're shopping around and looking for a bunch of choices because they don't know. It's like going on the internet. Oh, I want to buy myself a pink rock. I wonder if anybody sells pink rocks. And then they go on the search for pink rocks. Amazon, eBay, the common sites first. And then they can't find it there, then they just Google it, right? Nowadays, people use AI to try to find it. And then all of a sudden, I can't tell you how many times this happens to me. It's like all of a sudden, pink rock. I'm putting in there how to buy a pink rock. What I should be using is the word pink stone. Oh, look at all these websites for all colored stones.
Hmm.
And you figure out during the process that there are different ways to do it. And that's what's happening with most sellers, right?
Yep.
Okay. Maybes will completely bury you. These mind deals you have in your head will completely bury you. I will tell you that I've been in the last 2 weeks, I've been in 3 or 4 houses by myself. Nobody knows I've been in the houses except my wife, because I tell her I'm going out to look at a house. And I've discovered something.
Really?
Yep. I've discovered exactly why we are not buying enough houses. We're not executing the documents quick enough. I've lost two deals, almost 3 deals, because I'm like, you know what? I had a deal. I had a slot deal that was on a beautiful house. It was a $400,000 house. I got him down to $370. I was going to sell for $390 and make 20 grand. It was for a friend of mine, and I was going to make 20 grand, and he was ready to sign the documents. And I, first of all, didn't have the documents, and I said to him, you know what? You're a friend of mine. I want you to look at the documents first before we sign them. And I lost the deal.
Yeah.
We did it in that house we were in Southington or Marion or wherever we were. We didn't have documents signed, and 2 days later it was with the realtor.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
When you start helping sellers get what they want, you move from a pest to a welcome guest, and the seller becomes your fan club, rooting and cheering you on to do the deal because they're getting what they want. Right? Just like you and I, Peter. The only way for a seller to be an effective decision maker, he or she must make the next decision in the process. Then the next decision, then the next decision, until the decisions fully and easily overcome the conflicting aims or contradictory desires the seller has. And once this happens in our conversation, you have turned the corner. The seller starts to see the vision you've helped them paint in their mind. So we're Walt Disney, one frame at a time, making a film. Right? No vision, no action. No vision, no precision. I'm sorry, no decision. No vision, no agreement. Because you haven't helped the seller get that visual picture, the theater in their mind, so they can see and believe this actually happened. Like I said earlier, you cannot tell anyone anything. They have to come about it in their own discovery. Right? And every negotiation, the vision of the problem and the solution is what brings the negotiation to agreements. So, here's the problems, list 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Here are all the solutions, list 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And this brings you to agreements, which means harmony or affinity in opinions or feelings, not facts.
Wait a minute. We're doing facts now. How do we get back to feelings?
Because it's how they feel about these things.
In spite of the facts.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead. I got to hear what it is.
Right. So by walking through the problem, right? Because I said you can't tell anybody anything, right? They have their own feelings. Right? So by talking through the problem, or what the problem is, and proposing some ideas to help the seller, you'll soon have approval. The seller will compromise often because now they understand. Confused minds don't make decisions.
Yeah.
They'll settle with something they can vision and feel good about. The treasure hunt is over when you say, what would have to happen for me to buy your house today? Now here's the punchline. You've never heard this before. I've told this to you, but I don't think I've said it clear enough where you can understand it. Okay?
Yeah.
Now I have to tell you, I'm going to start over. What I've not told you is how you actually find the pot at the end of the rainbow. So how do you find out these are facts or not emotions, or emotions and not facts? How do you know which one of the facts is charged up emotionally? And keeping the girl on the railroad tracks for the train to hit, right? Once they tell you what would have to happen for me to buy your house, you ask any of these questions, and I'm going to give to you, so you can find out where the Indians are in the hill, hiding in the hills. And you can draw them out and deal with it.
Gotcha.
Okay, so these are writer-downers, as Mr. O'Connor would say. Right?
Yeah, so we're looking for the real barrier in the person's mind that they may not be telling you for whatever reason, and now we're going to find out.
More than likely, they don't know.
Yeah.
Because it's an emotion. It's not a fact.
Bye.
2 plus 2 equals 4. 2 million plus 2 million equals 4 million. Wow, I really wish I had $4 million. 2 plus 2 equals 4 is no longer 2 plus 2 equals 4. Now it's the feeling of having 4 million. Right? So, we're going to ask, what would have to happen for me to buy your house today? They give you an answer. Well, write me a check. You said that earlier. Okay, here you go. How come you haven't gotten a check yet for $300,000? Right. So the question is, how come you haven't gotten what you just told me you wanted? That's the question. That's the question. How come you haven't gotten what you just told me you wanted? So in this case, so how come you haven't gotten a $300,000 check yet?
Sure.
Another one. What would have to happen? I'll give that to you again. What have you done so far to get a $300,000 check? So, what have you done so far to get blank? Whatever their answer was. So in this case, what have you done so far to get a $300,000 check? Yep. Next one is, how long have you been trying to get $300,000 for this house? So the question is, how long have you been trying to get blank for this house?
Sure.
These are all in my new book too, by the way. By the way, I should be reading the book because each one of these, I have an explanation of why the question is so powerful and what it does to the person. I just don't have time to go over it with you today. Right?
Yeah.
Now watch this one. This is really cool, Peter.
Yeah.
This is for you. This question is for you. I wrote this question for you.
I'm writing that down. This is Peter's question. Okay. Go ahead.
I am actually not sure how I can get you $300,000 for the property. But I think my partner could tell us how. Or at least help us. My partner could help us get $300,000. What would you want to know most from him? So I'm not actually sure how I could get you $300,000 for the property. If I were to call my partner to help us, is a better way to say it. If I were to call my partner to help us, what would you want to know most from him?
Yeah.
This last one is a Bill question. Not many will ask it because it's a New York style. But I'm telling you, if you can get over that, it's the atom bomb. It is the atom bomb that will. Oh my God! I can't even tell you what this will do for you. Did you do this call because you can't seem to get $300,000 anywhere else? Did you do this call with me because you couldn't get or seem to get $300,000 anywhere else? That's an atom bomb.
Yep.
Now know this. Always, 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 always know this. No matter all of the issues you find when talking to a seller that should be on an agenda to finish the transaction or second fiddle to the wants. So all the things they're telling you, I can't get $300,000 because the economy's bad. I can't get $300,000 because the realtor was a jerk. I can't get $300,000 because. All the logical reasons they're giving you are bullshit because what you need to find out are the wants, not the facts. And these questions I just gave to you, how many were there? There was 5, right? 3, 5 questions I just gave you. Will obliterate any script. Will obliterate any negotiating. Will obliterate any bullshit in the conversation because they'll either hang up on you. And you don't have to ask all of them, by the way. You pick which one you want. I guarantee you're going to ask no more than 3 questions and you're going to know exactly what offer to make this person.
You had another one that I thought was going to be 5 that I've heard you say. It's like, well, what are you going to do if you don't sell to me today? That would work too, wouldn't it?
Yep.
Because it just puts them like, if you don't do this, now what, bud?
Right. So the reason why I didn't put that in there's a reason why, because I was going to put that. There's a reason why.
Oh, it's funny. What?
Because in appreciating markets, there are other solutions. So
that's true. In a seller's market, they're not so like, well, geez, I don't know what to do.
Right. When it's a depreciating a market, in other words, it becomes a buyer's market, that question is vital.
Right, but you know what I think this could still work? When we have the houses with like no equity for the slot deal, those. Because they can't do that. So I'm working on a couple of those right now, and it's not you're not even fighting with them. They're like, oh, good, I can make some money instead of breaking even. Right. So maybe in that scenario would fit a little bit.
Yep.
Cool. Makes sense.
All right. So wants are supreme. Wants are supreme. And the seller's true motivation. It's the gasoline that keeps the deal engine running. Once you ask the 12 laser perfect words, then a few follow-up questions I have just given you, you now have a laser absolute perfect way to propose deals to help sellers. Right? It couldn't be simpler. All right, so I'm going to deal with the last couple minutes. I'm going to deal with the skeptics that have been listening to us for 57 or 58 minutes, of which there was 10 minutes of the intro. So, just go into the conversation with a blank slate in your mind. Work with the facts that my 12-word sentence gives you. And don't have any assumptions or expectations that are so often dead wrong. Here's the problem that I have created for myself. And you, when you first came around to me, you asked me these questions and I gave you bullshit answers. Bill, why do you do deal structuring to introduce somebody to creative real estate?
Mm-hmm.
Because I want you to understand it's a mathematical way of me showing you that there are other ways to do real estate.
Mm-hmm.
Well, here's what happens is I become so convincing with my math that you think you have a subject to deal because it's 80% loan to value and they're willing to like do something. So they're willing to let you take over the payment. That's the big one. They're willing to let you take over the payment, but it's not an 80% loan to value ratio. There's not 20% worth of equity. It's got 5% worth of equity.
Uh-huh.
So students come to me, I got the subject to deal, and then we do the math, and it's not so good, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's not working with the facts. This is where Money Now, Money Monthly, Money Later comes in, because that forces you to see where the facts are. It keeps you in alignment with your deal. It allows you to use your compass to get to the right place, right? The truth is, you don't know until you pop the 12-word sentence, and in 30 seconds, you'll have it on a silver platter. Now, lately, the seller's batshit crazy. And we've gone through the ringer giving proposals because they're batshit crazy since COVID.
Okay.
And your vision does not allow you to make a comfortable decision. So here's what happens. Somebody says they want $300,000. Right away, you think, how the hell am I going to write a check for $300,000? First of all, where am I going to get $300,000? And second of all, how am I going to do it and make money?
Yeah, the math doesn't work. No matter what anybody wants, the math still has to work. And it just...
No, that's not true.
Well,
the math does work.
Well, yeah, not the write them a check math, but what math will work? Like, how can we do it?
That's right. And that's
not how can we not do it, but how can we do it?
That's where my 7 deal strategies come in play, because any one of those 7 deal strategies can handle any person, any deal, any situation, if you understand the 7 core strategies. So like in this particular case, you want $300,000? Oh, okay. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go over the cost to sell with you.
Yeah.
Right? Or nowadays we don't even do that. Okay, if you want $300,000, here's how it works.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna go find the buyer for you, and we're gonna get the buyer to pay us our profit. We're gonna mark the property up 5%. So we're gonna sell the property for $315,000. They're gonna give us $15,000 for a down payment, and you're gonna rent to them for 3 years, and they're gonna cash you out in 3 years. In exchange for doing that for 3 years, we're gonna give you 33 to 35% more money for the property. So you're gonna make almost $400,000 on this property. Can you do that?
Mm-hmm.
And we call this the Grand Slam offer script. So we can give them $300,000. The only reason why you can't is because you haven't studied the 7 strategies yet. Because my 7 core strategies I've been using for 30 years or 25 years, and they work for every scenario. So no matter what the seller tells you, you have an offer to give to them, or 2 or 3.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, one of those will fit, or 2 or 3. One at a time, but you'll find one that would fit.
Right. And my new book that is going to be out really soon, okay, is going to explain all this, right? It's called Leads, Deals, Cash, Creative Real Estate Secrets You Need to Know. That's the name of the book. And it's going to have all this in it. And this is where I go through everything we've been talking about on these podcasts, except I've accumulated and made all the data concise so you can read through it. And we're going to actually start, Peter, certifying creative real estate investors.
That's cool.
Just like realtors certify them, you're going to go through a class, and you're going to get certified as one of 6 different strategies. And the big thing is you test before you invest. Right? So all this is going to come together. Hopefully by podcast number 447, I'll have the newsletter done. and then probably by 450, I'll have the book published and ready to go. Okay, maybe before that, right? The point is if your vision does not allow you to make a comfortable decision, well, you have the power to veto too. After you get through the whole thing, the end of all the talking and all the helping, and did you know this, and what about that, and what about this, and if they're too stubborn to allow you to make a deal with your anti-negotiating tactics, which is the pitch mindset of helping them. If you can't help them because they don't want help, then you just veto it and you walk away. But here's the thing. You're not walking away thinking you got a deal. And you have mind deals in your head. Oh, I'm going to make 20 grand by telling your wife, oh, I'm going to make this deal. I'm going to make 20 grand at the end of the month. And then start spending the money in your head. Right? Realize by working your way through this deal, just like the seller, step by step, handling things as you go along, you will soon come to a conclusion that you feel good about. And either you're going to veto it or you're going to do it. Just like the seller, you have to go, just do the next step. Now, I promise you, more than I can emphasize, that if you start doing this, you're going to learn creative real estate. This is why I say creative real estate's not made to learn it, it's made to do it. And if you're using slot deals, option deals, and rent-to-own deals, which are all option deals, you have no risk. You put up $1 to $100 to procure the deal, and you learn all these things I'm telling you. And my new book is going to walk you through. It is an owner's manual. After 30 years, I've written up in a book what I do and how I do it, and it's taken me 30 years to figure it out. And it's going to be in this book. And this is how you do anti-negotiating in creative real estate to make gargantuan profits, is you use help. Customer support mode. And by doing that, if you treat the customer as if it was your own house, or your own money, or as if it was your grandma's or your daughter's or son's, one of your child's, or your best friend's house, you will come through the deal with so much education and so much trust that you will not have a fan club. Because even though they don't do the deal with you, they will tell others about you, about how much you help them. Just educating them on the cost to sell alone is a huge exchange.
That's always been big. When they find that out, oh yeah. Shocking.
So you're going to exchange with them in abundance by helping them do their next step and just going through the scenario. Kind of like my stomach hurts. You go to the doctor. Doctor said, okay, well, we have to do this test first. And then you go through the test, and then there's another step. Well, we gotta. It's this. We should do this, and we should do that. And then there's another step, and then another step, and then sooner or later he's like, okay, well, either you could take these pills or get an operation, and you have to make a decision, right? And I'm being facetious, but that's how it works everywhere else.
No,
it works that way in real estate.
Yep.
And by you going through the process with the seller to make each step plausible by thinking it out and posing all the different scenarios, you will learn a lot too. All right, make sure you subscribe to us wherever you're watching us or listening to us. Make sure you like us. Oh yeah, by the way, if you leave us a 5-star review and take a picture of it, you can send it to Flipping Houses for Rookies, and I will send you hundreds and hundreds of dollars worth of prizes. We call them bribes, ethical bribes, that are very worthwhile for you. Or if you go onto my Flipping Houses for Rookies website and go into courses, it's likely if you see a course there and you give me a 5-star review, just about any course you see on there, I'll probably give it to you for free. Even our course for $500, which is our standalone course, which I've had for forever, how to buy a real estate without a loan. Okay, so thank you for watching us. Thank you for all your support. Thank you for being here. And we'll catch up with you on episode number 446. Flourish and prosper. Over and out.
This has been Flipping Houses for Rookies. The American Dream. What is it? It's called financial freedom. And with real estate, you'll have it. Without the banks, without the bigwigs, and without the realtors' nonsense. Bill and Pete are two real estate investors with 30 years plus of experience, hundreds of deals under their belts, and a mission to change the way you think about creative real estate. Do be sure to like, rate, and review the show. And after that, hit up our YouTube channel at Flipping Houses for Rookies /streams. We'll be back soon, and see you then on Flipping Houses for Rookies.